And the Emmy goes to...
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones!
Game of Thrones.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
Dracarys.
And winter is coming. That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
8 seasons, 59 Emmy Awards, the most watched television show on Earth. It was a phenomenon, built and nearly destroyed in audition rooms across Belfast, London, and Los Angeles. 200 roles, a world more ambitious than anything ever attempted on television, and a casting process that was considerably stranger than anyone has let on.
I can't decide how I like it better. Like this? Or like this?
When I first heard they were interested in me for a fantasy show, I went, ugh, no.
This is the story of how they changed his mind, and how history followed. The first name on the list. When Benioff and Weiss sat down to adapt A Song of Ice and Fire, they basically had zero experience running a television show between them.
We've never done this before.
What they did have was taste, and one very specific casting preference before a single pilot script existed. Benioff later said that reading the first book, only 2 actors came to mind for specific roles, Sean Bean for Ned Stark and Peter Dinklage for Tyrion Lannister. No shortlist, no search. There was, Benioff said, simply only one choice. They said, his core of humanity, covered by a shell of sardonic dry wit, is pretty well in keeping with the character. There was, however, a problem. Dinklage had just finished a 7-month shoot in Eastern Europe playing a dwarf in The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, under a long red beard, and had made a firm, principled decision about his next role.
Yeah. Said no beards. No beards. No long beard. Just done.
The actor is quoted as saying, "In fantasy, everybody speaks in broad strokes. There's no intimacy, and for somebody my size, it's death." Benioff used his social connection to Dinklage through his wife, Amanda Peet, to get him into a room, and when they sat down, what they told him removed any resistance. He signed on before the meeting was half over. Martin's reaction on hearing the news was pure relief. If he hadn't accepted the part, oh boy, I don't know what we would have done. For Dinklage, the decision paid off beyond anyone's wildest dreams.
Peter Dinklage.
4 Emmy wins for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, 2011, 2015, 2018, 2019. A record in the category that still stands. What Dinklage brought to Tyrion was something no casting call could have manufactured, the specific, lived-in quality of a man who has spent his entire career being underestimated and has turned that into a weapon.
Give you some advice, bastard?
Fast.
There's our brave men knocking at our door! Let's go kill them!
It's not an accident that Tyrion's greatest asset in Game of Thrones is his ability to make people miscalculate him. So Dinklage didn't audition. He was the first and only name on the list, but not everyone's path into Westeros was quite so direct. The $10 million mistake. In 2009, a pilot episode of Game of Thrones was filmed. Shot in Northern Ireland and Morocco, it cost, by D.B. Weiss's own accounting, $10,600,000. The test screening did not go well.
Then you go to HBO, you make a pilot, which they did not run.
Because they wanted people to watch the second episode.
I see.
It was deemed so comprehensively not right that the production reshot approximately 92% of it. The original director was replaced, and so was the Mother of Dragons. In the original never-seen pilot, Daenerys was played by Tamsin Merchant. When the reshoot was ordered, she did not return. HBO executive Michael Lombardo confirmed that Merchant and Jason Momoa, cast as Khal Drogo, simply had no chemistry on screen. Merchant's account of the whole experience paints a vivid picture of what went wrong. She said, "I found myself naked and afraid in Morocco and riding a horse that was clearly much more excited to be there than I was." The role then went to a 23-year-old with a single credited television role to her name, a 1-episode turn on Merlin. Between auditions, she was working bar shifts in East London and answering phones at a call center. What's striking about Clarke's audition tape is that it isn't even a Game of Thrones scene. The scenes she was given are from a period romance.
What if I should never find someone so incomparably suitable and wealthy?
A drawing room drama about love and the things we feel and cannot name. There are no dragons in sight. What she had to show was vulnerability and latent ferocity simultaneously in a scene about neither.
David asked, "Can you dance?" And without missing a beat, Emilia did the robot.
She did it with commitment. She did it well. Maybe she'll do it later for you if you ask nicely. And even the president had no choice but to smile. She got the job 10 seconds after she left the room, and the two of us ran to tell her before she left the building because letting her get on an 11-hour flight home without knowing seemed like cruel and unusual.
4 Emmy nominations followed for Clarke. Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world.
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
At an award ceremony some years after the show launched, she thanked her showrunners.
They actually deserve their own bravery award for hiring someone whose biggest job until then was catering kids' parties dressed as Snow White. Yeah, be kind.
The living room tapes. Some casting stories are considerably simpler, though just as remarkable. Sophie Turner was 13 years old when she auditioned for Sansa Stark.
You have to come with me. There'll be lemon cakes and tea.
She had no professional acting experience. Her tape was filmed in her living room by her parents, and her own assessment of it, years later, was brutally honest. She said in a very self-deprecating manner, "My entire year auditioned, pretty much. We all thought it was hilarious. I don't know how it happened because my audition tape was absolutely horrific, but somehow they ended up casting me." Sansa Stark begins the series as a girl who believes completely in the world as she's been taught to understand it. Courtly, ordered, governed by the logic of fairy tales. The show spends 7 seasons dismantling every one of those beliefs. To play that arc from its beginning requires total sincerity. You cannot play that naivety ironically.
You'd better put on something pretty. We're travelling in the Queen's wheelhouse today. What would you want to see? It's all just fields and farms.
Down the corridor, a different 13-year-old was reading for the role of Arya Stark.
The wheelhouse doesn't even have windows. You can't see a thing.
Maisie Williams had, on the day of her audition, one significant concern: a hole in her leggings. "I was trying to cover it with my hand while I was doing the scene."
I'm not. I'm running that thing whiter. I'm going to Peruvian. Ray-Bans will be stupid. Common sense then.
She got the part. Partly, she has since realized, because the things about her that felt like liabilities were exactly what the character needed. What Williams brought to the audition, and to every scene she filmed across 8 seasons, was presence rather than performance.
What's happening?
The impression that Arya's thoughts and feelings were happening in real time. The second thing I ever auditioned for was Game of Thrones, and that launched my career. Both Williams and Turner won roles that would define them for more than a decade, and there is, quietly buried in the first episode's continuity, a small record of the chaos that preceded their casting. Because the pilot was reshot and Jennifer Eel, the original Catelyn Stark, was replaced by Michelle Fairley, certain scenes were retained while others were refilmed. As a consequence, Fairley's Catelyn and Turner's Sansa are never seen together in episode 1. 2 timelines, 1 episode, invisible join. The Haka. In 2009, Jason Momoa was struggling to find work. He had played Ronan Dex in Stargate Atlantis for 4 seasons.
We didn't surrender. We fought until every last one of us was either dead or captured.
He had, in his own account, essentially nothing to show for it financially. He has spoken about that period in unambiguous terms. "We were starving after Stargate," Momoa said. "I couldn't get work. It's very challenging when you have babies and you're completely in debt." His audition for Khal Drogo was not a traditional reading. Drogo, the Dothraki warlord, speaks very little in the show.
"A crown for king."
And Momoa had prepared accordingly. He performed a Haka, the Maori ceremonial challenge, full-bodied, feet-stamping, involving sounds that come from somewhere deeper than the throat. Not something you can watch passively in a small audition room. The casting director who was present, Amy Jo Berman, later described the moment. "He became the call right then and there. When he left, I remember looking at my assistant and the two of us were agog, speechless." Drogo died at the end of season 1. Momoa didn't take it well, recalling that, "After George Martin killed me, I was like, go f*** yourself." And yet Momoa's performance turned him into a star. Aquaman followed. Then Fast X. The Haka in that audition room is, in retrospect, the moment a career truly launched. The Black Eye. Kit Harington had just graduated from drama school when he walked in to audition for Jon Snow. First professional job, no credits, and on the day of the audition, a black eye.
Do you remember the audition for Jon Snow? I had a black eye. I'd been in a fight the night before. I'd got in this fight with this guy in McDonald's. We sat down and quite quickly he started being really rude to the girl I was with. I got up and said, no, you can't. You can't call it that, get up. And I got battered.
He turned up to the audition with this fight showing clearly across his face. The production was looking for raw, unpolished intensity. Jon Snow is a character defined by a dogged, sometimes catastrophic sincerity, someone who walks into situations knowing nothing and comes out the other side knowing slightly more but considerably more bruised. Harington looked precisely the part. A producer's note from the callbacks described him as looking upset enough to play Jon Snow.
Which I think that man who punched me in the face may have helped me get the job, so if you're watching, thank you.
The Villain Factory. Two of the show's most memorable castings share a notable trait. Both actors are thoroughly pleasant people who bear no resemblance to the characters they played.
My God. It's sunny outside.
Jack Gleeson was 14 when he auditioned for Joffrey Baratheon. Gleeson in person is soft-spoken, gentle, and academically serious.
But in terms of the television show, I think there'd be a few HBO snipers coming to attack me if I were...
The complete inversion of everything Joffrey is.
This one's your father. This one here. Look at it and see what happens to traitors.
What he could do in that audition room, apparently effortlessly, was switch the surface charm Joffrey uses as camouflage and the contempt underneath it in a single scene, sometimes a single line.
My God. It's sunny outside.
The producers saw it immediately. When the show ended, Gleeson left acting, completed his philosophy degree, and directed theater. Meanwhile, an actor named Iwan Rheon was sitting in that same casting process with pages for an entirely different role. He had come in for Jon Snow. I think it was between me and Kit, which is quite crazy, Rheon recalled. It could have been so different. I'd be dead now. I think they made the right choice. It would have been a very different Jon Snow if I'd played him. He didn't get Jon Snow. The producers remembered him 2 seasons later, when they began casting a new villain, a character listed only as Boy in the sides to conceal the reveal.
What is your name?
When I went to read for Ramsay, they said, "You have to find the joy in him," he explained. "He's a young man who's having fun. That was the key to the character." Ramsay Bolton became the defining villain of the show's middle seasons, replacing Joffrey as the one the fans most loved to hate. Where Joffrey was petulant, Ramsay was methodical. Ramsay was almost cheerful about it. A Jon Snow audition, redirected, one of the quieter masterstrokes of the whole production. The Heist. Pedro Pascal had been working in Hollywood for nearly 20 years when Game of Thrones Season 4 began casting. Small parts, guest spots, recurring roles. He first heard about the role of Oberyn Martell while sitting in a room helping a young USC graduate, his acting mentee, prepare an audition tape for the part.
I'm helping him go on tape for this new amazing role. He'd never seen the show. I was a huge fan.
Pascal read the character description. Oberyn Martell, late 30s, 8 daughters, dangerous, sensual, driven by a grief so old it had calcified into purpose. Pascal realized that this is perfect for me.
And I'm reading the sides, and I'm like, this is amazing. He goes to the bathroom, and I text my manager, right away. It was terrible.
He filmed his own audition tape, alone, on his iPhone, held vertically, in poor light.
I'd like to speak with him, Mountain.
David Benioff's description of the footage was brutally honest. It looked like shot vertical, the whole thing very amateurish, except for the performance, which was intense and believable and just right.
I call our friend, Sarah Paulson, a friend of mine, and she's very good friends with Amanda Peet, who's married to David Benioff.
Who's one of the showrunners.
And I was like, okay, so I send it to her. Her and Amanda watch it and show it to David and Dan, D.B. Weiss, that night before my agents even get to see the tape. Stoked that they saw it.
Yeah.
I don't expect it to go any further. A week later, I get an email from David and Dan. I got the part.
Pascal was invited to Belfast, attended stunt rehearsals, had his head cast, and eventually realized he had the role. His mentee was still waiting to hear back from his own audition. "I should WhatsApp him when this is over," Pascal joked. "I can be like, I finally came clean, man." One season as Oberyn Martell did what 20 years of excellent work had not. Narcos, The Mandalorian, The Last of Us. Benioff, asked years later whether he regretted killing the character off, was pretty clear. He was fine with it. If we hadn't killed him, poor Pedro never could have done Narcos. Not for Oberyn, but for the rest of us. What it changed. None of this is how it's supposed to work. All of it is how it actually happened. As Emilia Clarke put it,
Life-changing. I mean, genuinely, I can't kind of recognize my life to what it was before Game of Thrones.
what the cast of Game of Thrones achieved was to conjure up characters so complex and nuanced that audiences forgot repeatedly that the world was invented. The fantasy worked because the people in it were so real. That realness changed what audiences expected from television. It changed what studios were willing to spend on television and what fantasy was allowed to be. The series that followed, Succession, The Last of Us, House of the Dragon, were built on its foundations, its success and its willingness to be difficult and trust the audience while being blockbusters at the same time. Jason Momoa summed it up best: Game of Thrones. That changed everything. For a lot of people in those audition rooms, it did. Finally, there's one last detail too good to leave out. Rose Leslie auditioned for Ygritte with the line that would become her signature.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
She delivered it across a table from a producer, not from the actor who would eventually play him.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
She eventually delivered that line to Kit Harington while filming in Iceland. Harington's black eye had faded by this point. The pair fell in love and married in 2018. They have 2 children. They gave Game of Thrones fans something all too rare, a happy ending. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more epic behind-the-scenes stories.